Kamara have brought money. Let it wipe away what happened.
My mother once told me, when a calabash breaks, you cannot use gold to carry water in it.
I was afraid. I thought of my name, my business.
And so you buried my future to protect your own. In this life, a man who sells his conscience for silver may sleep on silk, but his heart will lie on thorns.
Kamara lived in a shining part of the city where cars moved like flowing water. She was still in the university, but her life looked like a movie. She wore expensive dresses, carried designer bags, and changed her phone every few months. Students whispered her name with admiration. Some said she was lucky. Some said she was blessed. Only her closest friend, Lucy, knew that Kamara's shining life had a source, a man named James. James was rich, confident, and smooth with words. He drove Kamara to lectures in a black car that made heads turn. He took her shopping in big malls and paid for everything without blinking. Lucy admired Kamara deeply, but inside her heart, she wondered if love built on money could stand when the money stopped flowing. Kamara always laughed at such thoughts. James will always be rich, she said. He was born for it. The change did not knock before entering. It arrived like a sudden storm in dry season. James stopped sending money. The car disappeared. The shopping trips ended. His calls became heavy and slow. Kamara noticed the worry on his face each time they met in the city cafe where they used to laugh freely. He said business had failed. He said partners had betrayed him. He said everything would return to normal soon. But weeks turned into months, and the shine around James faded. Lucy watched Kamara begin to pay for her own meals. She saw her friend sell some of her expensive bags quietly. One afternoon, as they sat on a park bench, Lucy asked gently, "If he never becomes rich again, will you still love him?" Kamara did not answer. She looked at the busy road ahead as if searching for a future she could no longer see clearly. One bright afternoon, James called Kamara to meet him in his small apartment. The room no longer smelled of luxury perfume, it smelled of worry. He held her hands tightly and said he had found a way out. He spoke slowly, choosing his words like a man building a trap covered in flowers. "There is a way we can be rich again," he said. "But it requires sacrifice." Kamara listened carefully. James told her that a powerful group of businessmen believed in strange spiritual exchanges. He said wealth could return if she gave up her womb. He promised that they would still marry. He promised they would adopt children. He promised love was more important than biology. Kamara's heart trembled, but the thought of returning to luxury covered her fear. She did not think deeply. She only remembered the life she had lost. Kamara told Lucy everything the next day. Lucy's face lost its color. She stared at her friend in disbelief. "Your womb is not money," Lucy said firmly. "It is life. It is your future." But Kamara was already dreaming of wealth restored. She spoke of big houses, vacations, and a wedding that would silence every critic. Lucy begged her to think. She reminded her that promises made in desperation are often broken in success. But Kamara believed James loved her too much to betray her. She believed sacrifice was proof of devotion. And so, without telling anyone else, she agreed to James's request. The procedure was done quietly in a private clinic owned by a man who asked no questions. Kamara signed papers she barely read. James stood beside her, holding her hand, telling her she was brave. He whispered that this sacrifice would make them unstoppable. When it was over, Kamara felt a strange emptiness inside her body and heart. James told her everything would change within months. He promised her a wedding ring as soon as the money returned. She believed him because she needed to believe him. 5 months passed, and something unbelievable happened. James became rich again. He entered new business deals that grew quickly. He bought a new car, bigger than the first one. He moved into a luxury apartment with glass walls and shining floors. The city began to talk about him again. Komara waited for the wedding plans. She imagined walking down the aisle in white. Lucy watched silently, fear growing inside her chest. She had seen men change when money returns. She prayed Komara would not become a story people whisper about. One afternoon, James invited Komara to his new apartment. The place was beautiful, filled with light and expensive furniture. But his face was serious. He did not smile the way he used to. "I have been thinking," he said slowly. "I cannot marry a woman without a womb. My family will never accept it. I need children of my blood." Komara felt the words spin around her. The same man who had promised adoption now spoke of bloodline. The same man who held her hand in the clinic now spoke like a stranger protecting his future. Her sacrifice suddenly felt like a chain locked around her forever. Komara left the apartment without tears. The sun was bright, but she felt cold. Lucy opened the door when Komara arrived and understood everything from her friend's empty eyes. Days passed in silence. Komara stopped answering calls. She avoided mirrors. She avoided crowded places where children played. She realized she had traded her future for a promise that vanished with success. But deep inside her, something began to awaken, not hope, not yet, but anger. Lucy decided to investigate quietly. She asked questions about James's sudden wealth. She spoke to people who knew about his new business partners. Slowly, she discovered something strange. His success had nothing to do with any spiritual exchange. It was linked to a secret deal involving city land and foreign investors. Lucy realized Komara's sacrifice had been unnecessary. James had lied. He had used her fear of losing luxury to control her. When Lucy told Komara, the pain turned into fire. Komara stood before the mirror one morning and looked at herself differently. She was no longer the girl who lived through a man's wallet. She was a woman who had survived betrayal. She may have lost her womb, but she had not lost her mind. James believed she would disappear quietly. He believed shame would keep her silent. But Komara began to plan. She would not beg for marriage. She would not cry for sympathy. She would uncover the full truth behind James's wealth, and when she did, the city would know the price he demanded for riches. And somewhere in the busy streets of the city, James laughed confidently, unaware that the sacrifice he demanded had created not a victim, but a storm rising slowly toward him. Komara did not rush. She did not shout. She did not call James again. Instead, she sat quietly with Lucy in her small apartment and listened carefully as Lucy explained everything she had found. The money James received came from a land deal in the city. He had signed papers weeks before he asked for her womb. The wealth had already been on its way. The sacrifice had been nothing but a cruel lie. Komara felt pain, but the pain no longer broke her. It shaped her. She understood something powerful that day. James did not just take her womb. He took her trust, her dreams, and her dignity. But he forgot one thing. He forgot that a woman who survives betrayal becomes sharper than the blade that cut her. Lucy helped Komara gather evidence. Bank dates. Business registrations. Contract signatures. Everything showed that James' money started growing before the procedure. The timeline did not lie. James had manipulated her fear of poverty to control her choice. Komara's hands shook as she held the printed documents. Not from weakness, from realization. She had loved a man who saw her body as a tool for profit. Komara requested to meet James in a public restaurant in the city center. The place was bright, busy, and filled with life. James arrived wearing confidence like a suit. He believed she came to beg. Instead, Komara placed the documents on the table. One by one. Slowly. James' smile faded as he read the dates. His fingers tightened. His eyes searched for escape. "You were already becoming rich," Komara said calmly. "You lied to me." James tried to defend himself. He spoke of pressure. He spoke of mistakes. He spoke of love that was complicated. But Komara's eyes did not soften. For the first time, he saw a woman he could not control. Komara made a decision that shocked Lucy at first. She would not handle this quietly. She would tell her story publicly. Not to destroy herself, but to protect other women from dangerous promises dressed as love. She shared her story on social media. She spoke in simple words. She did not hide her mistake. She admitted she chose wrongly. She admitted she trusted blindly. The video spread across the city quickly. People were shocked. Some blamed her. Many supported her. But everyone talked. James' name began to appear beside words like manipulator and liar. His business partners started asking questions. James tried to silence her. He sent messages. He called repeatedly. He threatened legal action. But Komara had evidence. And she had courage. Soon, one of James' investors stepped back from his projects. Another requested investigation into his character. In business, trust is gold. Once broken, it stains everything. James realized his image was collapsing faster than he expected. For the first time, he felt fear, not of poverty, but of exposure. One afternoon, Komara received an invitation from a women's organization in the city. They wanted her to speak about manipulation, pressure, and self-worth. Lucy smiled proudly. Komara hesitated at first, but then she agreed. Standing on the stage days later, she told her story without shame. She explained how the desire to maintain luxury made her ignore warnings. She spoke about how love should never demand self-destruction. The audience listened in silence. Many women cried. Some nodded with understanding. Komara realized something powerful. Her voice still carried life, even if her womb did not. James watched everything unfold from his apartment. The same glass walls that once reflected success now felt like a cage. Calls from business partners reduced. Invitations stopped. His wealth remained, but his reputation weakened. He tried to convince himself that Komara was dramatic. But deep inside, guilt knocked at his pride. He remembered holding her hand at the clinic. He remembered promising marriage. For the first time, he saw himself clearly, not as a smart man, but as a selfish one. Money returned to him. Respect did not. Komara began working with the women's organization regularly. She learned about counseling. She learned about financial independence. She started studying business seriously, not to impress a man, but to build her own foundation. Lucy stood beside her through everything. Their friendship grew deeper than before. Komara stopped chasing luxury. She chased stability, knowledge, and strength. The city began to see her differently, not as the girl who lost her womb, but as the woman who found her voice. James requested one last meeting. Komara agreed, not from love, but from closure. They met again in a public cafe, under bright daylight. James apologized. His voice lacked the old confidence. He admitted he lied. He admitted he acted from greed and fear. He said he regretted everything. He even offered money as compensation. Komara looked at him calmly. "You cannot pay for what you took," she said softly. "But you can live knowing you chose money over humanity." She stood up and walked away without anger. Without tears. Without fear. Years later, Komara became a respected voice in the city. She built a small foundation that educated young women about self-worth and financial wisdom. She adopted a little girl who filled her home with laughter. Motherhood came to her differently, but it came with peace. James remained wealthy, but alone. His success never felt as bright again. He had learned too late that wealth built on betrayal carries a silent emptiness. Komara's story became a lesson whispered across the city. Never trade your future for temporary comfort. Never sacrifice your body for a promise not written in truth. And never believe that your worth lies inside what you can give a man. Because in the end, Komara did not lose everything. She lost the womb, but she found her power.